Shalom, brethren. Topic for today is God's calendar. A calendar is used to mark and identify specific dates in time. Time is divided into units of days, weeks, months, and years. From creation, Yah, the God of creation, the Torah and Bible, has had one calendar which remains today. Humans, Yah's created, have created their own calendars, discarded some and adjusted others, some of which remain today. In this short study, I can only focus on Yah's calendar and its paramount in relevance to his people and not the human ones. Should you be interested in human calendar history, I have other studies you can request. I have in the last year or so heard of who are called grassroots group, or there may be more than one of them, who admirably seek to follow the God of the Bible, but yet creating their own God calendar, which affects the times of his weekly appointed Holy Convocation, Sabbath. If this division is not addressed at this grassroots stage, those seeking obedience to the Bible may find themselves faced with as many Bible calendars as there are Christian denominations. The main purpose of a calendar and feast day is to have Yah's people keeping it and worshiping him at the same time for his appreciation, like a sweet smelling savor, the Bible calls things we offer to him. Though the same wrong time is not to his liking, as it states in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 14, your new moons, mean of your own creation, and your appointed times, my soul hates. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary of them. So even if we all do the same thing but at the wrong time, God doesn't approve of it. The day before God created humans, he first created the method by which they were to identify time and dates. In the King James Version of the Bible, we read in Genesis chapter 1:14, it says, "And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons." I'll come back to that word seasons later. "And for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And verse 19, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day. The fourth day came after the first three. A day is defined as in Genesis chapters 1, verse 3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day. That reference of H3117 is the Hebrew identification of that word, day. And the verse continues, and the darkness he called the night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Meaning the light part is called a day and consists of an evening and a morning. However, later in the Bible, we will see further definitions of a day, as in John chapter 11, verse 19, where that reads, and this was Yeshua speaking, are there not 12 hours in the day? Now, without going into breaking down the word day by its Bible use and concordance, I simply want to point out it is used in two contexts to refer to the period between sunrise and sunset and the whole 24-hour period part of one sunset to another. as in Genesis chapter 7, verse 17, which reads, "And the flood was 40 days upon the earth." So obviously just didn't rain for 12 hours and stop and 12 hours next thing. It was a whole 40-day period. Genesis chapter 37, verse 34. "And Jacob rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days," a continuous period, including a continued period of 24 hours. Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 4. "And it came to pass when I heard these words that I sat down and wept and mourned certain days, and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven." So we see it's a 24-hour period. It is paramount we often acknowledge a day has 24 hours. Otherwise, as these new group roots, we may be deceived into keeping God's instructions as a weekly Sabbath or fasting for 12 hours rather than 24 hours. The Jews have never kept a 12-hour Sabbath or Day of Atonement. They've always seen a day as a 24-hour period. As we see, Yah's days were numbered 1 to 7, not named. The only name used was Sabbath. However, Sabbath is not solely for the weekly seventh day, but all Yah's identified dates of holy convocation appointed times, and year, as is listed in Leviticus 23. In other words, you can have a Sabbath year, an appointed year, and a Sabbath year, as I said. Leviticus chapter 25, verse 4 reads, "When the seventh year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land," a Sabbath for Yahweh. "Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard." The word seasons, as I referred to back above in Genesis 1:14, is a poor translation of the Hebrew word moed, which means appointed time. Sadly, Christians have been beguiled into thinking the Sabbath is synonymous with rest. It does not mean rest, but an identification of a Yah appointed time to come before him, which we cannot do if we are at work or working. So we need to rest from that activity in order to come and keep this Sabbath. But the word that itself does not mean rest. Thus, this specific period, i.e. between the 6th and 7th sunsets, cannot be changed to another period of time as between the midnights of man's calendar, Saturdays to Sundays. So you cannot take the word Sabbath, which goes for a specific period of time, and put it somewhere else for another specific period of time, is my point. Yah's days are, people say, I keep my Sabbath, or there's many Sabbaths. There isn't. There's only one Sabbath between the 6th and 7th sunsets. Yah's days are identified by the greater light of the sun in Genesis 1:16. In basic terms, the earth rotates completely over a 24-hour period and the light of the sun is received on it. So that's the day. The week. I think all Bible believers accept a 7-day week. I have not heard any different. Genesis testifies to a 7-day week, which I think we all know, so I will not go further. Man has had a few attempts at varying the number of days in a week, but has returned to settle on 7. The week is identified by 7 days rotation of the earth in relation to the sun's light. The month. The lesser light of Genesis 1:16 is the moon. That operates on a Yah instituted rotation cycle in conjunction with the greater light of the sun. By the moon, we get the sign of the months and the name month. In simple terms, the moon rotates on a 30-day cycle. The traditional concept of months arose with the cycle of moon phases, such as the lunar months, lunations is called, are synodic months and last approximately 29.53 days, making for roughly 12.37 such months in one Earth year. Those 12 months could have a connection to the 12 tribes of Israel, but I won't go into that now. Without going into the history of man's various calendars, which had various number of months and days per month, they were simply trying to keep step with Yah's ordained sun and moon permanent system. Today, they have probably got as close as they can with their one-day leap year adjustments every 4 years. Science is simply the observation and recording of what is in place and using for man's decision making. In other words, we observe what nature has put in place, and you come up with rules about it. It happens so frequently, and then you make predictions based on your observation, such as when there's going to be a full eclipse, when there's going to be and so forth. Man's error is changing God's standard days in a month to various numbers of 28, 30, and 31, as in the calendars we use today. Also, when each month starts, which have no bearing on the new moon sighting. A new moon is the first slither of light from the sun on the moon after a totally dark moon. A full moon denotes the middle of the month. So I've covered the day, the week, the month. The bigger of the periods, the year, is the larger of the 4 cycle periods of time mentioned in Genesis chapter 1. It basically consists of roughly 365 days or 52 weeks of 7 days or 12 months of 30 days. The Bible identifies the first day and a month of the year in Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. It reads, "This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." That day starts the counting and corresponds with a new moon, which starts the first month of the year, around the end of our March in the commonly used human Gregorian calendar. It came into effect in October 1582. Exodus 12, verse 2 is 14 days before the first holy period in the Torah stroke Bible and in God's calendar for his annual holy appointed days, not his weekly day one, which started at creation. My point is, Exodus chapter 1 to the first month starts at Passover time. In fact, Passover, first day of unleavened bread, is 15 days into that first month. Well, that has nothing to do on when the week started. The week was started since the creation of the earth in Genesis. This misunderstanding of thinking the week and the month starts on the same day is the basis of the new grassroots theology. God's first month is called Abib, which was later changed to Nisan during Israel's captivity in Babylon. Now, before I go on to explaining that, i.e. the grassroots error, which is the main subject of today's study, I will point out that in Judaism, their year starts with Rosh Hashanah, which literally means the head of the year. The biblical name for this holiday is Yom Torah, the day of shouting or blasting of the trumpet. It is the first of the high holy days of awe, and is specified by Leviticus chapters 23, verses 23 to 25. In other words, they use the feast days as their start of the year, rather not the Exodus feast days, but the other one. Anyway, that's another subject. Okay, the main point of today's study. The problem with the new grassroots theology, a quote from them in reference to God is, "He never intended for time to be kept on a continual 7-day cycle," so they claim. His calendar is non-continual, as this helps keep our attention on him. So they're saying that when the world started in Genesis and God rested on the 7th day in chapter 2, that the 7th-day Sabbath didn't continue all the way till now. Every 7 days. It broke every month, it broke and started again on the first of the month. And we shall see that that is ludicrous. So I say, according to them, when God counted the days in Genesis chapter 1, from verses 1 to 7, and rested on the seventh day, later in Exodus chapter 16, 23, calling it a Sabbath, the counting would have a 1 to 2 day pause every 28 days, or 4 sets of 7, and resume from number 1 every new moon. They use a 29-stroke 30-day month, and if I understand correctly, may not count the day or the night when the moon is completely dark. Quoting again from them. The Sabbath always falls on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th of the lunar solar months, not the 7th day or night, as in Genesis chapter 2, verses 22, verse 23. So as it says, they start their counting every month cycle. Again, quoting from them, keep in mind that these Sabbath dates, the 8th, 15th, 22nd, 29th, can fall on different days or dates, meaning of the week, on the Roman Gregorian calendar, because the Gregorian calendar is always continuous. New Moon Day will happen 2 days after the 4th Sabbath of the month if there are 30 days in the month. Now, this will be demonstrated later on in the line down below. My comment, nowhere in the Torah, Bible, has God ever tied the weekly 7-day cycle to the new moon cycle, regardless of the number of days in their month. Not even in Exodus chapter 12, verse 2, does he, God, say that first day of the month and year will also be the first day of the week. So again, Exodus chapter 12, verse 2 reads, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months, it shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak you unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month. And verse 6, and ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. It is extremely important you note in verse 3, God did not, for example, refer to the day in terms of a week, i.e., the third of the second week, nor in verse 6 as the last day of the second week, but 14th day of the month. The same for Numbers chapter 28, verses 16 to 18. Further verses are in Genesis chapters 8, verse 5 and 13. In other words, God never counted the days in terms of the days of the week and the days of the month together. There are other foolish Christians who, to support their Sunday worship system, try to argue that when they see the word first day or the phrase first day in the Bible, think it always refers to their Sunday use. For example, in Leviticus 23, verse 24, which says, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath. Now, they will assume that that first day always refers to Sunday. Which is totally wrong. But at least the above mentioned grassroots groups try to keep Yah's Sabbaths, the weekly one, and know the difference between the first day of a month and the 7th day Sabbath, or in their case, the 8th day by their theology. Weekly Sabbath, which occurs every 7th day, irrespective of when the new moon occurs, does not influence the annual Sabbaths, which are appointed according to when the month starts, i.e., on the 10th day of the 7th month. It would be a coincidence if the weekly and annual Sabbath fell on the same date, making it what sometimes is called a high Sabbath. So in other words, sometimes you'll get an annual holiday feast day falling on what we call a Saturday. Yes, but that's just by coincidence. The weekly Sabbath is always sunset Friday to sunset Saturday, and sometimes an annual one may also fall on that day. I say that is by coincidence, not by design. Unlike the new theology group that I think will always have the first day of unleavened bread falling on the second week Sabbath. No, it's because unleavened bread is the 15th day of the first month. Their 15th day will always be on yes, yes, they used them. It was 8, 15, 22, and 29. The days they use. Okay, where did I get up to? Remember, the new theology states he never intended for time to be kept on a continual 7-day cycle. His calendar is non-continual, and I'm going to show you this is wrong. That is their foundational error. Using a straight line or single wheel approach, which has both fixed new moon intervals of 30 days and also 4 times 7-day intervals, weekly intervals, each starting on the same day or date. The Bible never has the words week or weeks and months or months in the same sentence, verse, or putting them in association with one another. So no, you wouldn't find them connected in the Bible. So this is what they do. So using this is their line. The first day of the month, and then they have the Sabbath, weekly Sabbath on the 8th day, the 15th day, the 22nd day, regardless of what day of the week. In other words, it may not be a Friday or Saturday, 29th. Then the 30th day is the end of the month, and then start again. New moon's number 1, and there you have it. Yes. So 8, as I said, 8, 15, 22, 29 equals the weekly 7-day Sabbaths. 1 equals the new moon days. The first of the month and the week to them. And 30 is the last day of each month. So if 1 falls on our Tuesday, then all the Sabbaths for that month would fall 7 days later on a Wednesday. So they have all Sabbaths on a Wednesday. And then the next month it will change. So that is how they do, but that's not how God intended it. I put it this way. You have in the small circle the Earth, and that rotates on a 7-day cycle, or that's counting this weekly cycle counting our contact. Earth rotates on a 7-day cycle. The Earth has been rotating from year dot since God created it. Then separately, you have the moon, the middle circle, that rotates on a 30-day cycle. So you have new moon every 30 days. And then you have the bigger circle again, which is the sun, and that rotates on, say, a 365-day cycle. They're all independent. So, as I say in here, each wheel or cog rotates independently of the other. The smaller is the Earth, the medium is the moon, which is 30 times the diameter of the Earth, and the larger the sun, which is 400 times larger than the moon. The order of the days of the week, 1 to 7, or named Sunday to Sabbath, does not affect their rotation nor sequence. The first of the week does not regularly start on the first of the month, except by coincidence, whereas with their system, it does. So that is their error, putting all of these 3, sun, moon, and so week, month, and year on the same line, rather than having a separate line for each of them. I'll leave that there so you can reflect on that for a moment. Okay. However, to further demonstrate the error of the grassroots group or groups in thinking the first day of the month is also the first day of a week, below listed 1 to 10 are some other verses. Those examples were taken using the 7th day as the Bible Sabbath before reading the group's website, the theology of Sabbath falling on the 8th, 15th, and 22nd days of the month. A similar Bible search, however, for either 8th day, as I did for the 7th day, would also prove it is never called nor relates to a regular weekly Sabbath. Notice you don't find the 8th day called a Sabbath. Using the King James's 8th day, using the King James Version, 8th day appears 23 times in the Bible. Note Leviticus 12, verse 3. When a male child circumcised on the 8th day after its birth was as commanded in Genesis chapter 17, verse 9, and practiced in Luke verse 1 to 59 to 221, is not called a Sabbath. The 8th day is not called Sabbath day. In 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 33, we see King Jeroboam creating a feast out of his own heart on the 15th day of the 8th month. And again, that wasn't called a Sabbath of God. If that day was God's weekly Sabbath, it would not be frowned upon by God. 2 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 17, Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 18, nor Philippians 3:5 does not call the 8th day a Sabbath. Anyway, as I said, these are my examples using the 7th day, which I thought they would use. Number 1, Exodus chapter 12, verse 18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 120th day of the month, 120th, 21st day of the month at even. So notice the 14th day and the 21st day, which is 3 times 7, are not called Sabbaths because they do not fall, as I say, on the weekly Sabbath. They just fall on whenever they fall, which would be the case if the first day of the month from their system was counted as also the beginning of the month. And anyway, you don't get my point, yeah? These days would be called Sabbaths, and they're not in the Bible. Was also the first day of the week, Exodus chapter 16, verse 26, 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath. And I say, I refer you to Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. Second verse, these days are not referred to as first of the week, but only first of the month. You also Exodus chapter 40, verse 2 and verse 7. Third example, this 7th day is not called weekly Sabbath. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 8, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. Ye shall do no several work therein. So again, the 7th day is not called a Sabbath. So show that the day of the month, the day of the week do not start a new cycle for both. Was the grassroots theology biblical? We should never see 7th day. We should always see Sabbath, because that's what it would be called. Number 4, Leviticus chapter 23, verse 29. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto Yahweh 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. So the 15th day, see, according to the 15 would be called a Sabbath, but it's not. It's just called the 15th day of the month. It does not say the first day of the 3rd week of the 7th month, nor mentions a 3rd Sabbath, i.e. on the 1st, 7th, and 8th days. Example number 5. Sorry. Leviticus 23, verse 40. And ye shall take you on the first day the branches of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs of fig trees, and willows of the brook, and ye shall rejoice before Yahweh your God 7 days. Again, it does not say call the 7th day a Sabbath. Number 6, 2 Chronicles 29, verse 17. Now they began on the first day of the first month. So it's not called the first day of the week of the year. There's other examples about the first day of the month in Ezra chapter 7, verse 9, 10, verse 17, Ezekiel 26, verse 1, 29, 17, and 45, verse 18. Example number 7. Note when the Bible means the first day of the week, which is different to the first day of the month, it says so. Matthew 28, verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week, yes, it doesn't say the first day of the month or put them together. Mark 16, verse 2. And very early in the morning, the first day of the week. Again, you see also in Mark 16, verse 19, Luke 24 verse 1, John 20 verse 1, 19, Acts 20 verse 4. So if it was the first day of the week, will it also be the first day of the month? No, sorry. Yes, because the first day of, unless this is my second week. Mark chapter 8, sorry, my example number 8. Mark chapter 14 verse 12. And the first day of unleavened bread, Leviticus 23 verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread. If the grassroots theology was biblical, this would be the first day of the third week, and it'd be called the first day of the third week. But it's not, it is called the 15th day of the same month. Number 9, Leviticus 13 verse 2. When a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising scab or bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priest. Verse 5. And the priest shall look on him the 7th day. If the priest look on him the 7th day, it would be a Sabbath according to the grassroots theology. That means the lepers would all have to be brought on the first day of the month. By then, those who missed one month's 7th day would have to wait until the next month's 7th day. That would cause the spread of leprosy among the camp, as well as overwork the priests on Sabbaths, when their duty is to administer Sabbath services to Yahweh. Clearly, by verses 6, 27, 32, 34, and 51, we see it cannot be talking about the same 7th day. Thus, the counting does not start as the first day of a month being the first day of a week, especially when we read 7 days and 7th day in Leviticus 14, verses 8 to 9 and 39. Last example, number 10. About 48 times the Bible uses 7th day, and clearly is not talking about the 7th day of a week that starts the same day as that of the month. Otherwise, it would be calling them the Sabbaths, but it doesn't. And I said, same example for the 8th day. Satan constantly comes up with ways to deceive seekers. The above new grassroots theology of challenging the 6,000 plus years 7th day, our Friday sunset to Saturdays, has caused confusion and deterred some previous Sabbath keepers and Bible followers to go back into the world. According to their predicted charts for 2024, there are some 9 days between some Sabbaths. I've got a picture of those charts below. In other words, these new theologies are affecting people's salvation because they're just going back into the world and going to end up losing their salvation. Many of these new theologies come with a money-making contribution requested by their creators, donations to help complete special projects, levels of membership according to your committed monthly contribution, etc. 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 3 says, "Then through covetousness shall they with fainted words, as night, polite, and so forth words, make merchandise of you." Romans 16 verse 18, "For they that are such serve not our Lord Yeshua, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple." It may be of interest to know that from the position of the stars, every moment of time has been kept track of since before 500 BC. So we can check God's 7th day through the stars and something called chronobiology, which is what I'm going to here. Is God the creator not the only awesome being, consistent to the moment, nothing irregular or without design? Hence, when he gave a particular slice of that time, a time cycle, and named the Sabbath, it would not be confused for another slice of time. Thus, one cannot keep the Sabbath at any other time or day of the week, but on the 7th day, what we call Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. Okay, so these are some of the predicted charts for this group for October 2024. How they know which year we're in now, since they weren't around for the last 6,000 years. So they do not know which new moon is a new year. But anyway, this is their chart. You will see that they have Sabbaths falling the same. This one's on a Thursday, the 10th, the 17th, and 28th of October. And this October it'll be on a Thursday. In November 2024, they predict it will be on coincidentally a Saturday. Yeah, the new moon, the 9th. So these are all the same. So these all coincidentally happen to fall on a Saturday for this month, for that month. But in December, they're falling on a Monday. Monday. So see, they have a change in day per month, but they all fall on the same day of that month according to them. So that completes this study. I hope you enjoyed it, and you can always play the video back again to go over the scriptures I've paid. Shalom.